Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named MomSister in the AITAH subreddit. The post is titled, "My mom feels my sister should have married my husband instead of me. I am upset with my mom and my sister because of something my mother said, but everyone around me feels I am overreacting. Please be brutally honest in telling me if I am being insecure or if my mom and my husband are wrong in this. Let me give you a bit of backstory. My husband James, 34M, and I, 29F, were neighbors growing up. My sister Fran, 34F, was in the same grade as my husband. Everyone knew my sister in school because she is very smart and beautiful. James had a huge crush on her, and all of us knew about it. He asked her out for senior prom, and Fran shot him down. They still remained friends, but he moved to a different state for college, and we did not hear much from him except for when he came back for holidays. James and I were never friends growing up since I was in middle school when this happened. In fact, I was much younger than both of them, and they would actively avoid including me in their hangouts and activities. I went to a good college and got my first job in the same city as James. My mom suggested I should contact James since I did not know anyone there. We became friends, and 3 years later, we got married. We both have high-paying jobs and love our life. We moved back to our hometown during COVID as James's mom had health issues, and our jobs allowed us to work remotely. Fran also had a pretty good life. She married when she was 23, and her husband was well off. 2 years ago, Fran discovered that he had been cheating on her for almost the entire duration of their marriage with multiple partners, and she decided to break things off. Fran moved back in with my mom. Fran had not worked during their marriage and was expecting to gain significant alimony from the divorce. However, due to complications regarding the prenup, she barely got anything and is struggling financially. She got a job but is barely able to afford her own place and continues living with my mom. James and I were very supportive of her during the whole process. Since James and Fran were friends growing up, they both have a special bond. They have their inside jokes and stories, and I sometimes feel like a third wheel when we all meet. However, James keeps his distance and has never given me any reason to believe that he has lingering feelings for her. Fran, on the other hand, constantly visits us and ends up staying for dinner and sleeping in our guest room. I don't mind her coming over, but I do not like the fact that she talks more to James than to me. Also, she always comes over when I am not at home, and I often find them sitting next to each other on the sofa watching TV when I get home. It sort of reminds me of my childhood when I was locked out of our basement when Fran had friends over and I would feel left out. Fran is also too comfortable around James. She walks around the house in just a towel after her shower when he is around, or sleeps in her underwear in the guest room without locking the door. I have voiced my concerns to her, but she says that we are family and that she does not care. I have also voiced my concerns to James. He does make efforts now to explain stories and inside jokes if Fran brings them up. The main issue happened this weekend. I was hanging out with my mom and Fran last weekend when Fran was recollecting stories about how James would do her homework and chores for her growing up. She said, "He was so much in love with me and I felt guilty taking advantage of him." My mom jokingly said to her that she wished Fran had had the wits to marry James instead of her loser husband. Then she wouldn't be in this situation. Fran smiled after hearing that and nodded, but I was hurt by the comment. I protested to my mom that James is my husband, and I do not want her to make such comments about him. My mom doubled down and said that she feels this way because both James and I are high earners while Fran is struggling. So it would make sense if Fran were married to James. Then I would be fine since I do not need him to support me financially. She kept insisting that it was hypothetical and that she just wants both her daughters to be happy. I did not like those comments and told them not to speak like that about James or my marriage in general. Fran chimed in and told me that I should not take the comments so personally and that I am being too sensitive. However, I ended up having a fight with both of them before leaving. When I came home and told James about it, he sided with my mom and Fran, saying that my mom just made a harmless joke. I also raised the issue of Fran's behavior around our house, but he told me that this is between me and my sister, and he is not going to tell Fran what she can or cannot wear in our house. However, I'm feeling really bad about the situation. Despite everyone apologizing to me, things just don't feel right. Am I wrong for reacting the way I did? Or does everyone else have a point? Should I be more secure about my relationship with James? User No Imagination said, NTA. Your sister is really hanging on to the fact that he liked her in high school. This is probably because she is at such a low in her life. She needs to wake up and learn boundaries. Your mother encouraging her is ridiculous. She should be saying that sister should be more like you, financially independent and in a stable marriage. User Yoga Lover Girl said, NTA. Your mother's comment was inappropriate and disrespectful towards your marriage, and it's concerning that your husband is dismissing your feelings about Fran's behavior. It's not about insecurity, it's about wanting respect in your relationship and home. To this, OP said the following, "This has been a pattern through my life. Due to age difference, Fran has always treated me like a kid. I just felt insulted that my mom completely ignored my feelings while making such comments. However, a part of me also has been jealous of Fran because of all the attention she got, and I was the nerdy little weird girl in our family." User Recent Vermicelli said, NTA, but I personally think your sister is trying to make this a reality and your mom is assisting. She is interested in him, and it may be just because she knows that he can support her financially. Your partner needs to decide if he is married to you or if he is courting your sister. Your sister obviously thinks that he belonged to her first, and she is trying to take what she thinks is still hers. Either put your foot down or get out. This is not going to end well for you if you don't. There is no reason for her to be sitting with your husband watching TV, especially when you are not home. And there is zero reason for her to be having sleepovers at your home. 6 days later, OP provided her final update. To summarize what happened, my mom made a really off-putting comment that she wished my sister Fran was married to my husband James. I got really mad, and my husband also tried to undermine my feelings by telling me I was overreacting to a harmless joke. Sorry for the long post, but many of you were messaging me for an update, and I wanted to tell you what happened. The comments really made me paranoid, and I saw everyone's point that James may have just married me because of his crush on Fran. This really heightened my anxiety, and I started snooping around. My husband literally makes me check his phone for new messages when he is not around, so I knew there was nothing to hide there. However, I was spooked by how my sister always knows when I am not at home and why James and Fran are always sitting on the same couch when I come home. I tried talking to my husband and he told me that my feelings were valid. However, he also said that Fran is going through a tough time and refused to say anything bad about my mom or Fran. Last Friday, I went to the gym as usual in the evening, and when I came home, Fran was sitting in the living room while James was cooking dinner. I got a bit angry and asked her what she was doing there. She said she had no plans for the night and came to hang out with us. It really annoyed me, and I told her that I wanted to spend a quiet weekend with my husband and asked if she could come some other time. She could see I was upset. She started saying how our mom was just being silly and that I needed to let it go since it was just a joke. I told her I did not find it funny and we got into a fight. She said that I am always an insecure, annoying kid and that no wonder no one liked me. It really hurt me, but James stepped in and told Fran that she needed to leave. I have never seen James be so forceful with Fran. Fran muttered some unpleasant things to James and then left. I was in tears by the end of the whole thing, and James was consoling me. I was really upset and spent the night in our room alone. In the morning, I prepared notes on all the things I wanted to ask James. Your comments really helped me get my thoughts straight. I know I was being very insecure, but after reading the comments, I really started questioning if James really married me for me or just because I was Fran's sister and looked like her. James and I had a long conversation, and I told him about my anxieties and insecurities. I explained how it makes me feel that he spends so much time with Fran when she visits us and how they have their own inside jokes. I asked him if he still has feelings for her. He was calm and smiling the whole time. He told me that he would tell me the truth but did not want me to hate him for it later. He said that he knows Fran used him all through their school days because she knew he liked her. When he went to college, Fran still tried to keep in touch with him, but putting distance between them made him realize how badly she treated him, so he decided to cut contact with her so that he could work on himself. That was the reason he rarely visited us when he used to come for holidays and stopped being friends with Fran. I told him that it bothered me that he chose Fran before me and ignored me during our childhood. That was why I always had doubts about whether I was his second choice. He said that I was 13 when he went to college. If he had liked me instead of Fran at that age, we would be having a different problem. He told me that when I contacted him, he thought that I must be like Fran and was not very enthusiastic about meeting me. However, after we hung out a few times, he realized that I am nothing like Fran. We soon became close, started dating, and got married after a few years. He told me that Fran was married by then and that he saw I always put Fran on a pedestal and would get jealous when Fran posted vacation pictures or the new shiny things her husband bought for her. That was the reason he never told me that he did not like hanging around Fran, as he felt that for me, Fran was always the North Star. He explained that he had always kept his distance from Fran and she was a non-issue since we would meet her only a few times each year. However, after her divorce, he did not know how to act. He said that he was grateful to me for uprooting our lives and moving back to our hometown for his mom's health. He wanted to do the same and take care of my family. When Fran got divorced, he supported her in every way he could for me, even though he realized it meant spending a lot of time with her and listening to her bring up all the memories from high school that he wanted to forget. I told him it bothered me that Fran came to our house as often as she does, especially in the evenings when I go to the gym. He told me that he also finds it odd that she knows my gym routine and always comes over when I am not at home. However, he assured me that he has always kept his distance from her, and if she did anything that would raise an alarm, he would have told me immediately. She just makes him watch all the old movies or TV shows they enjoyed growing up and gossips endlessly about their high school friends. He told me I need to trust him, and if I want him to be the bad guy and ask Fran not to visit us often, he can do that for me. However, he knows that I will eventually make up with my mom and Fran and does not want to be blamed for being mean to her. He also mentioned that he will not tell Fran what to wear around the house as it would be creepy if it came from him. I felt I got all the assurance I needed from James, and I will never doubt how amazing a husband he has been. My mom and Fran visited us on Sunday, and my mom profusely apologized to me. She told me she does not want me to feel bad about her comment and that she would never wish anything bad on my marriage. She meant to say that James is a great guy and she hopes Fran can find someone like him one day. Fran was a bit sour but apologized for all the name calling on Friday, saying it was just her hormones. She mentioned that she likes hanging out with her sister and her best friend, which is why she comes to our house. I told her she is welcome to come anytime she wants but should call ahead of time in case James and I have plans for the evening, and she agreed. I really want to move past this issue, but I do want to establish some firm boundaries regarding when Fran can come to our house and hang out with James alone, as I know it bothers him too. Overall, I feel things are good now. I am glad my worst fears did not come true, but I do feel I need some therapy in order to deal with my insecurities. User No Siren said, I don't know if Fran ever had thoughts about seducing your husband, but I think she was basking in his attention and was definitely living in a what-if world. She's divorced and financially insecure. Your husband was a potential future that she turned down. When she is over at your house, alone with your husband, she can pretend that that is her life. Married and financially secure to a man who at one time worshipped the ground she walked on. However, your husband doesn't feel that way anymore. I think you can trust his words on that. It sounds like he really just doesn't feel comfortable being the one to set boundaries because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings, and she is your sister. Create your boundaries and be firm. These are not unreasonable boundaries. You're literally living in the same town. There's no reason for her to sleep over. User Material Cellist said, you are being foolish. Your sister is pursuing your husband, but instead of ensuring she is out of the picture, you allow her to stick around as long as she calls. You need to kick her to the curb. Go low contact. Don't be foolish. Under this comment, User Grim said the following. James said he knows OP will never cut her off, so he doesn't suggest it. She even mentions this in the post. I commented elsewhere, but in my opinion, the biggest problem with this update is that OP even let her sister into the house. James said he doesn't even like her. OP needs to keep her relationship with her sister and mother separate from her marriage outside of family gatherings. OP needs to stop rationalizing with them and simply say no as a complete sentence. No, we aren't hanging out at my house. No excuses, no explanations, just a clear line in the sand. If they ask why, she should say they know why and that it's not up for discussion. If anyone has anything more to say about it, she should leave. If either of them crosses that line, she should tell them she will see them another time and just walk away. She can't tell them what to do, but she doesn't have to allow them to disrespect her or her husband. They will respect her words when she actually stands up for herself and stops giving them room to walk all over her. User Technical Pumpkin said, behind every dumb joke, there is a truth. And believe me, they meant what they said to you, so you'd better not minimize it and stay on guard. Your husband was very good on many points, but even if you do trust him, you don't want to tempt fate. As a partner, he must respect the fact that you are not comfortable with them spending so much time together, especially given their past. He can be there for you and help you in many other ways, but helping your sister should not be one of them. Your sister has something in mind and your mom is on her side, so the sooner you accept this, the better you can protect your marriage. This next post was made by a user named JustARN. The post is titled, "Coworker asked me to bear her man of honor. I said no and she went nuts." This happened yesterday and I'm still confused. Yesterday was my first day back at work after being off for 2 weeks. This is kind of important. One of my coworkers had gotten engaged the week before I left. When she announced it at work, we all congratulated her and expressed how happy we were for her. I thought that was the end of it. So when I left for vacation, the last I knew, no plans had yet been made. Then yesterday, when I went back to work, my boss, K, and best friend L said that coworker C was looking for me. I asked what was up and they weren't sure, but she was carrying a little gift bag. A few minutes later, C found me and asked how my vacation was. I was telling her about it when she cut me off and said she had a very important question to ask. She handed me a little gift bag and asked if I would be her best man of honor for her wedding. I thanked her and told her that typically this role goes to a close female friend. She responded that there was nothing traditional about her wedding, so it was fine. I looked over at L and K, who were both trying to keep from laughing. I again thanked her, congratulated her, and told her that I wasn't interested in being part of her wedding party and that I would be happier being a guest in the audience. I swear when I said this, I watched her entire demeanor change. A switch flipped. She went off, saying that I had to be in her wedding and that she didn't understand why I would say no. I told her that we only knew each other for a short time and that I had no interest in trying to plan parties, dinners, and shopping trips. She told me I needed to think about it and she would get back to me later. I told her to go for it, but my answer would be the same. She walked away and I looked at K and L and asked what the ever-loving, fresh, creepy hell that was. Kay started to laugh and said she didn't know, but that saying no like I did might have saved me a lot of headaches in the future. L commented that C went straight to Bridezilla mode and this was a glimpse into what she would be like. C came back today. However, she approached me differently this time and handed me a list of what she wanted me to do along with her vision of how she sees things. I asked her why she gave me this list and she said that as her man of honor, these were my responsibilities. I told her again that I was not going to do any of this. She insisted again that she needed me to do this and talked about how much fun it would be. Then she asked, "Haven't you ever wanted to be part of something special?" I told her I'm a nurse. Enter K, who could sense that I needed help. She told C that one of her patients needed her assistance. I told Kay that if this keeps up, I might need her help. She said she was already watching the situation and would intervene if necessary. What did I miss? We aren't that close. She just transferred down to my unit from a different unit 6 months ago. I had no idea who she was until then. L is saying that C is close in age to me and might feel that is enough of a connection. Did I miss something? When we're asked to participate in something like this, are we supposed to automatically gush and jump up and down in excitement? Why is saying no considered a bad thing? User Anthropy said, "Are you gay?" She has a very specific vision about how she wants her non-traditional wedding to go. Gay best friend for a man of honor, you're supposed to screech and make jokes at her bachelorette. Then she's going to wear something funky and fun with her wedding dress instead of heels, like Converse or cowboy boots. Bonus points if the cake is just cupcakes. Under this post, OP said the following, "I am gay 100%. That whole thing just sounds awful. User Painter Reader said, she wants to show off how different and edgy she is by having a man of honor. She may also admire your organizing skills and get it done demeanor and thinks you'll throw her great wedding related parties. To this, OP said the following, "I'm a bad gay guy friend. I'm organized when it comes to a lot of things, but planning a wedding is something I've never done and really don't want to learn to do. If I were to ever get married, it's midnight under a full moon at the beach with a few friends and a cookout the next day." User River and the Dalex said, "I don't mean to assume here, but like, are you gay or does she think? Could she be going for the gay best friend stereotype? That would add a whole other level of weird. Maybe she has no close friend and wants to impress or like save face to the friends she's gonna invite to events. But that's not your problem. Keep your foot down." To this, OP said, "I don't know the situation and to be honest, we are colleagues, and I'm happy with that. I have such a small group of close friends and that's all I need. With that being said, I'm not rude to her by any means, but I'm just not interested. I have enough crazy in my life dealing with my family that I don't need the insanity of a bridezilla or a wedding to add to it." One day later, OP provided an update. "First, I apologize. I never thought this would go as crazy as it did. I want all of you to know that I read all of your responses and responded to as many as I was able to. Thank you all for your amazing insights and comments, many of which made me laugh, something I really needed. I have been sick and your support helped cheer me up. I had to meet with my lawyer today regarding family issues. My neighbor, best friend, and coworker Elle took me because I really felt awful and driving wasn't a good idea. We talked about this on the way, and we were both asking a lot of the same questions that all of you were asking. The big one was about the circumstances of C's transfer. She went from med-surg 4W to the ER, which is a huge change. I have to work tomorrow, so we will see what happens. Elle and I are going to ask Kay about the transfer and raise a couple of other concerns. After I got home from the meeting with my lawyer, I slept for the rest of the day. Many of you asked if C and I hang out outside of work. The answer is no. I really don't know anything about her. I have helped her a few times with patients and other things, but our relationship is 100% purely work-related. That's why I was so surprised that she asked me to be her man of honor. I have a very small friend base, and in all honesty, I like to keep it that way. I really have no interest in being a part of this. I'm not a wedding person. After reading so many Bridezilla stories and hearing about over-the-top weddings, they have become a huge turnoff for me. Spending tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars on insane, unrealistic demands that turn people against each other. Why? I would rather use that money and spend that time planning my next trip or vacation. Many people said that I was being used as a token or prop in a wedding, or as a gay best friend. I never really thought about it until now. I admit that I'm out and proud, but I'm not going to pretend to be someone's friend just so they can fulfill some kind of fetish for wanting to have a gay best friend or some kind of status they feel the need to fulfill. It takes a lot for me to get offended, but if this were actually the case, then I would be quite offended. I was not put on this earth to be someone's plaything. A lot of people have said that maybe she doesn't have a boyfriend. She does. She has brought him in before. If she has any insecurities, I don't understand them. She is attractive, smart, and knows her stuff, so I'm at a loss as to why she is acting like this. Many people say to go to HR. I'm starting that process with my boss Kay. She is completely aware of the situation since she was with us when all this happened. She has told me that she is watching the situation and will jump in if I need her to. I trust her completely. While Kay and HR can control the situation at the hospital, they can't control it on a personal level if C were to follow me home or something like that. So I think that covers it all. I wish I could say this is over, but most likely there is more to come. And 3 days after that, OP provided their final update. I keep forgetting to thank my boyfriend. He has been with me through this, but more in the background. At first, we were laughing about it, but when everything happened on Thursday, he was there as well. Elle was able to get him away from his unit for a little bit for the "it will be okay" boyfriend hug. He stayed the night with me a couple of times and helped me while I was sick. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have such great support. This intro is going to be long, but I'm telling you about this for a reason, and later in this update it will make sense. I'm hoping this will be done and that this will be the last of this whole situation. I was born into a family where I was referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with. I lived in the shadow of my sister, who was the child my parents wanted. They wanted one child, which was a girl, so dad could have his daddy's girl and mom could have her little princess. Then I came along. Keep in mind that I'm 23, so back then my parents had options but chose not to use any of them. Instead, my parents raised my sister while I was raised by a nanny who, even to this day, is one of the biggest influences in my life, and I am so grateful for her. She helped me with so much. I finally realized that all these years later, being referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with stripped me of my humanity, individuality, and self-worth as a person. I think that's why I have worked so hard to establish myself in my career and in my life, as a way to become a person again and not just be that issue that needed to be dealt with. This past Thursday, things came to a head with the bridezilla known as C, and the truth came out. My best friend Elle has been sticking close to me when we work together in case C starts something. We weren't sure if she was going to leave it alone or start up again. I was really hoping that it was done, but she had to try once more. I've been sick and had a busy morning, so I really just wanted a few minutes to go to the bathroom, grab a quick snack, and maybe breathe. C came up with her list and asked if I had a few minutes to talk about the wedding planning. I looked at her and told her again, no, that I was not interested in being part of her wedding and that I wasn't going to help in any way. She needed to drop the subject and leave me alone. Again, she went into the whole thing about how I was going to do this and how much fun it would be. Here we go with that line all of you loved the first time. Why in the ever-loving fresh creepy hell is it so important for me to be your man of honor? I'm not interested and I'm not doing it. It is exactly as pretty much all of you told me it would be. She was just planning on using me as a token or a plaything. She took all of the messed up gay stereotypes that exist in society and put them into one sentence. What modern liberal woman isn't going to have a gay bestie on her arm for special events? I felt everything in my stomach move and a wave of nausea came over me. I felt like I couldn't get to the bathroom fast enough. This pissed Elle off to no end. Elle is really kind of like the overprotective sister that I wish I had, and she took C off to visit our boss K and laid it all out. Everything that was said. While I wasn't in on that conversation, Elle and K filled me in on what transpired. Kay came to check on me while I was still hiding in the bathroom. She knocked on the door and asked if she could come in. I asked her for a bottle of water first. While I was waiting, I realized two things why I chose not to hang out with C and why I didn't like her. I couldn't figure out why I didn't like her, just that there was something about her that gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I realized that I didn't like her because she is a different version of my sister. While C is educated and employed, she doesn't care about other people or their feelings. She is like my sister in the sense that if she wants something badly enough, she will figure out how to get it. The second thing I realized was that she did exactly what my parents did to me. She completely dehumanized me and reduced me to an entity, just kind of turned me into a token or a thing for her. I think the word that best describes it is that I'm just a plaything. What really gets me is that just like my sister, C doesn't think she did anything wrong and believes I'm being too sensitive and a delicate snowflake. The next day, an emergency meeting was held at work, and C is being suspended pending investigation. A new transfer is being looked into as well. Kay made the request for her termination. The director of emergency nursing said this was a last resort, but that she would be looking into options, which could include sending C to a new hospital or facility. This didn't sit well with me. I asked what would happen if she did the exact same thing to someone else. She didn't really give me an answer, but said she still needed to look into a few things and that at this point, C is suspended. Anyway, here it is. I'm still pretty sick and had to work this weekend. If I can, I'll respond. I want to thank everyone for all the amazing support. I am going back to my lawyer to see if he can figure out how to send her a cease and desist letter to make sure she doesn't contact me. I'm heading to bed now. Have a good night. User MXF, I said, what the hell is wrong with this woman? I mean, I know what it is. She views herself as the main character, and everyone else is just there as a supporting character. But still, how can people even act like this? Also, C is a nurse. Shudders, I really hate that she's allowed to even treat patients if this is how she treats peers in her profession. I am so sorry you were the target of this blatant homophobic BS, and I would raise hell if she isn't fired because that's exactly what that BS is. She's displaying discriminatory behavior toward people on an equal level of power to her. She will absolutely be like that with patients because they're a lower tier than the people she's equal to. User Witty Conclusion said, the problem is she never wanted to be best friends with him. She wanted the gay arm candy. I am a nurse and I have the pleasure of working with people of every orientation. I started at a hospital at 23. I worked at that hospital for 6 years. I had 2 doctors who were gay. We were in a patient's room and he said a Ferg cannot take care of him. I smarted off and said, that's great. A Ferg is a cigarette, and those are not okay in the hospital setting. Dr. A had to walk out because he was cracking up. So 3 days later, Dr. B took over. We go back to the patient's room. He says, oh great, another Ferg. I pulled a cigarette out of my pocket and said, well, since you need a Ferg so bad, here you go. Dr. B left crying because he was laughing so hard. Needless to say, we all have been best friends for 15 years. My husband takes husbands A and B out fishing every month or so. My husband's straight friends get mad when husbands A and B are not there. It's so bad that when we're out, they start talking about inside jokes or stories and have to stop, getting upset that the jokes or stories won't make any sense. While doctors A and B and I go shopping and to the bar. I travel now, as do both doctors, but we do a family vacation once a year. Next year, we're going to Europe for 6 weeks for Dr. A's 20-year vow renewal. My husband and Dr. B are best men, while Dr. B's husband and I are the matrons of honor. Needless to say, if you so desperately need a gay man in your life, start with being a decent human being, then you will get the honor of having a gay best friend. User Geek Girl said, you seem to possess a lot of emotional intelligence. It's the booby prize for having endured emotional abuse. I'm glad C is being dealt with, although I agree with you that she shouldn't be in a position where she has to care for vulnerable people. I don't know if you'll even read this comment, but if you do, please take this to heart. You matter. Your life makes a difference.